Welcome to Gold Star Classroom, the podcast where our panelists go back to school. I'll grade them on their answers to a variety of general knowledge and trivia questions. They don't know what I'm going to ask, and I don't know what they're going to say. The student with the highest grade at the end of today's class will win the coveted classroom prize, the Golden Banana. I'm your host and professor, Dr. Jerry Jaffe. Today's episode of Gold Star Classroom is being recorded live at the Barnes & Noble in Mentor, Ohio. Today's students are, sitting on my left, comedian T.M. Francis.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, Tim, thanks for coming to class.
Oh, yeah. Well, I haven't been in a class. Actually, the last time I was in class was the last time I was in this class.
Well,
so.
I hope you learned something.
You're the only one who's educating me anymore, Jerry.
Well, I'm putting effort into it.
I know.
Sitting on my right is columnist Chris Lambert.
Hello there, everyone. Jerry and TM and Dan, hello.
Chris is also known for his one-man show about Orson Welles, and I feel like I'm sitting at a table with an Orson Welles impersonator.
I'm drinking iced tea and, unfortunately, not Paul Masson wine.
And sitting directly across from me is a comedian who has been frequently retweeted by all sorts of professional wrestlers and blocked by one.
Blocked by many.
Dan Brown.
How you guys doing?
Hey, Dan, thanks for coming to class.
Jerry, I'm sorry from the last time I was in your class, my dog ate my homework. I do not have it.
Did you eat your dog?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you still
But
have
you
your
do
homework
have
with
it.
you.
I am
Is this
partial.
the kind of school that we get detention for? We stay after the podcast and,
Jerry
No.
brought a ruler to smack our hands with.
He believes in corporal punishment.
It's old
But not
school.
in class.
I have been paddled
no,
at least
this-
4 times.
Chris, this is the type of class where I ask you questions across the breadth and width of human knowledge, and like any good teacher would do, I grade your answers.
I read a lot, but I'm not a big they say, oh, you know a lot of trivia. No, I just read a lot, so I hope I pass today.
I'll be the judge of that.
Okay.
This is the summer school edition of Gold Star Classroom.
Yeah.
I have to walk 2 miles home because there is no bus.
Yeah.
And I would like to alert you, Chris, and all of the students, and all of my students listening at home, that the student with the highest grade today will receive the coveted classroom prize, the Golden Banana.
Oh. Well, you need your, what is that, that thing in bananas that makes you so, healthy? I can't even, because I don't eat
Potassium?
bananas. Potassium, yes.
Okay, minus 5 points to Chris
Yes,
for not knowing what potassium is.
Already I'm in a hole.
Oh, man.
All right. I'd like to start with just a quick question and answer for you. In this Barnes & Noble, we are sitting underneath a sign that says, Death of a Salesman, a Pulitzer Prize-winning play written by whom?
Arthur Miller.
Yes.
Oh, T.M. Francis got there first because Dan mispronounced it.
I said, how did I say Arthur McMillan?
Yeah,
I don't know. It is
Oh.
up there.
Yes.
I was looking at it as I was saying it.
Who was married to
Marilyn
Marilyn
Monroe.
Monroe? Yes.
Really?
Briefly. I think before DiMaggio.
That's 10 points for you, TM, and
Yay.
minus 5 points for Chris for asking questions when that's the teacher's job.
Oh, that's right. I'm deeper in this hole. I haven't got the swing of it yet. Yes.
All right. Your first topic is going to be trivia related to the English language. As you may know, the English language is one of the great powers of the English language is that it absorbs words from other languages. It just very easily it takes words from other languages. And with that in mind, there's one language group which we have a lot of words from, but probably most average people walking around don't realize the origin of these words. And these are words that come from the indigenous people of America, our Native American Indians. And I have here a list of 6 or 7 such words, and I wonder if you know what they mean in English, and if you know what they originally meant. I'll start with an easy one just to illustrate what I mean. We are in the state of Ohio, which is on the Ohio River, and the word Ohio is a Native American word for what?
Hello.
I thought that was in Japanese. Hello in Japanese.
It is hello in Japanese,
All right.
but it has one more syllable because Japanese syllabize everything. It's Ohio in Japanese.
Oh, okay.
But it is a great joke if you meet a Japanese
Yeah.
person.
Yes.
I come from Ohio. Well, hello to you too.
Do you know what the word Ohio originally meant in Native American peoples who lived in the region?
I don't know. If it didn't have something to do with fearing white people, then we weren't talking about
Get
the right
off our
things.
land, you know.
Yes, they were off on the wrong track. The word Ohio actually originally meant something like Great River.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So the Ohio River is the Ohio Great River.
Okay.
All
Only
right.
great rivers catch on fire.
So you got the theme. All of
I
these
hope it's
words
another Indian word.
are probably words you've heard. The question is, are they words that you actually know what they mean? Here's what might be a relatively easy one. You've heard the word papoose.
Laptop.
Papoose, little baby on the back of the.
10 points for
All right.
Chris Lambert. Papoose is a Native American word for baby.
Yes.
Huh.
Excellent. We know this as a place, primarily in English. You know, Mackinac
Mackinac
Island.
Mackinac
Island.
Yes.
But what does it originally mean?
Fox.
A good guess, because it is an animal, but not fox.
Turtle.
5 points
Wow.
for T.M. Francis.
Are you serious?
I'm completely serious.
That was the luckiest guess I've ever had in my entire life. I saw a turtle in a lake the other day. That's why I said that.
Did a turtle say to another, "Hey Mac, what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm laying some eggs." "Well, let's call it Mackinac."
It actually means snapping turtle.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So does he get half credit or full credit?
I'm giving him full credit for pity points.
Oh,
How about hickory?
switch.
Turtle.
We often use it for switch because we
Old-
think of it as a type of wood now.
Old hickory,
Yeah.
the
But
nickname
it
for
originally meant, for Native Americans,
Fire.
Tree.
a milky drink made from the nuts of the hickory tree.
Okay.
All right. I have two more. I like these two because they're the funnest on the list. But the word skunk. The word skunk comes from a Native American word meaning
Does it not mean skunk?
It
Smell
does
bad?
it does not mean skunk smell bad, but you know that is a not a bad guess to be perfectly
Must
honest.
have been the translation into American language.
I'm going to guess.
You know, Dan, one of your earlier guesses was right.
Is it fox?
That is half right. It means fox, but it hasn't like
Red fox.
not red fox.
striped fox or something.
Red fox, striped fox. No.
Running fox.
No. But you mentioned, of course, skunks smell
Oh,
bad.
stinky fox.
Stinky fox?
But what do they smell like?
Bad fox.
The word skunk comes from like a compound word from a Native American language that means fox urine.
That's my next guess.
Yeah.
Darn.
Darn.
We
And
don't have time to
You
wait.
say these are the easy ones, right? Okay.
Well, no, the easy ones were Ohio and Papoose.
Oh, okay.
But you
Yeah,
did
I
get
got the one of
Papoose.
them. Yeah.
I want to do one more, also because it's kind of a fun one. It's a word you've definitely heard, which is Inca.
Casino.
I'm old enough to remember it in the sense that, like, Inca Dinka Doo, which is an old Jimmy Durante song, I think.
5 points for referencing Jimmy Durante.
Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are.
What do you think? Inca's original intended meaning.
I have a feeling I know what it is, but like I know I've heard of it. Like forever ago,
Right.
like back in
Like,
grade
we use
school.
it
but-
for
Could you
the-
use it in a sentence?
I could. We in English we use it as like the
No,
name.
please use it all in Native American tongue.
I don't want the show to be boycotted, so
Okay.
I'll skip that.
Is it spelled like Inca, like the Spanish Incas?
Well, you know, we have Romanized it, put
Oh,
it into
okay.
English letters. Who knows? Sitting here, I don't know how it would have been spelled in the indigenous language, though I believe the Incas did have a writing system.
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff. It doesn't mean pyramid, does it? Or
It doesn't, but I actually think that's a good guess, too.
Tunnel.
Yeah.
It means king or lord.
Oh, okay.
So the Incas were called the Incas because the conquistadors met their leader,
Yes.
who was called Inca, and that became like...
Conquistador, your stallion stands in need of company from the hit song Procol Harum.
We have
Conquistador.
a winner for today's Nerd Prize.
Yes!
Chris Lambert, congratulations for winning.
Yippee! I hope I'm out of that hole yet.
One of my favorite topics to bring up in class as a theme is the true history of things. Students listening at home might remember that I once covered the true history of acupuncture. And this is in that kind of theme. I have a topic here that is a common topic that you all probably know something about, but most people don't realize the actual history behind it. They have like misconceived myths, urban legends, things like that. And the topic is, let's start with this simple history question. What century did the Satanism begin?
Last
Whoa.
century.
okay.
By last century, can we say like
Yes.
18th,
The
19th,
20th.
20th?
20th.
Do you mean the 1900s?
Yeah, because it's 20th century
Yes.
is 1900s.
Well, are you talking
They-
about like the Church of Satan, or just like
Aleister
Satanism
Crowley, or-
as a practice? Yeah.
We're gonna get to that in a second,
okay.
Chris.
I'm sure there's been people worshiping the devil forever, but like I
Yeah.
think modern
Fun
Satanism.
fact: Satanists actually don't worship the devil.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Do you mean like that specific part of it, or
the dark arts.
I'm referring to like people wearing black and eyeliner and having upside down pentagrams for tattoos, things like that.
Dead
Yeah.
ghosts in their
Um,
backyard with
May I
purple candles.
take back my answer? The 18th century.
So you're saying the 1700s?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Geez, I'll go back even further than that. I mean, if there's a range that I can
Right.
hit, I'd say around the 900s.
Well, you're around the 900s.
Yeah.
Well, you all did, of course, immediately sense that there's like, if not a paradox or a misunderstanding,
Right.
there is a kind of modern thing called Satanism, and that includes the upside down pentagram, and includes some other things. And then on the other hand, as Tim put it, has there been like devil or Satan worship in the past, but may or may not have been like the 20th century thing that's called Satanism.
right?
The Satanism, capital S, it is considered a religion nowadays. In the 21st century, it's considered a religion. And
Do they get a tax break?
yeah,
Ooh.
Probably
Oh my
the churches,
gosh.
I bet.
yeah.
Wow.
And
That's just not right.
well,
Well, it's not the government's place to say what's right,
That's
sir.
true.
Correct.
Yes, that's true.
Exactly.
and that is a 20th century development.
Stay out of my
It is the
uterus and my
1900s.
Satan
Okay.
shirt.
In fact, the modern day Satanists are literally linked back to one person. And you brought up a famous name in Satanist circles, Chris, but that is not actually
Oh,
Marilyn
Aleister
Monroe?
Crowley is not Marilyn Monroe.
just because Jimmy Page.
She's famous in a lot of circles.
But not the circle of hell. Yeah, just because
Which
Jimmy.
probably is now.
Just because
if,
Jimmy
if
Page.
there is a hell, she
Yeah.
is definitely in it.
Just because Jimmy Page made him famous in the 60s.
Why did you say that so confidently? She might have been a nice lady. I don't know.
Can't be married all those times.
Oops, sorry.
Getting knocked around by Joe DiMaggio.
I didn't say he was anywhere either.
Well, no, he's definitely not.
The person who was actually identified as the innovator or founder of modern Satanism is probably not a name you've heard. I'll give you like 5 more seconds. Does anyone know the name of the person?
I think I saw a picture of him and Marilyn Manson
Boyce
one
Blanchard.
time.
He would have been probably played by Torrin Thatcher in the movie, who always played those evil wizards.
Almost certainly. Anton LaVey.
Anton LaVey, yeah.
I've
that's
heard
why,
that name,
yeah.
yeah.
You'll see his picture a lot, actually.
Yeah, I saw one of
Sometimes-
him and like a young Marilyn Manson. I believe that he's dead, right?
He died in
Yeah,
1997.
he actually puts himself in all of his movies.
I'm
sorry, that was Alfred Hitchcock.
Right next to Hitchcock, yeah.
He was a musician, by the way.
I always get them confused.
Wow.
and then later an author because he wrote 5 or 6 books on Satanism.
You
And he
know,
used to.
a musician like, he played a mean axe or something.
He did, but the
Yes.
axe that he played was the
was-
organ.
Oh,
Was
Oh,
the
okay.
actual like
Made from the bones.
Vincent
Yeah.
Price-esque organ.
So he
fist.
did the Inagata Davida like every day to warm up, the 17-minute
That probably
version.
wasn't satanic enough for him.
Yeah.
He was a circus performer as a young man as well, and he became interested in the occult and just like spiritualism, you might say. And he started giving lectures on metaphysical topics. And one day, one of his I don't know if follower is the right word, but I guess we'll say follower, said to him, "Hey, you should start a religion."
I think that's how L. Ron Hubbard got started.
Yeah. Not to be confused with Richard Occult, who created Yellow Kid in Ohio, who is one of the earliest comic book characters.
I want to apologize for my students listening at home. I gave the nerd award too early.
Yes, I get 2 of them.
If I'd known Chris was going to say that, I would have waited for that statement.
But you were right, TM.
Jesus.
He, from what I've read, my research, I forget the L. Ron Hubbard.
L. Ron Hubbard,
He was just writing pulps for a penny a word, and was telling some of his other writers of his era in the
really.
40s said, we're not making enough money, and Hubbard told him, I've got an idea to make more money
start a
to
religion,
start my
yeah.
own religion. So he's just an old pulp hack writer.
Before,
Yeah, he wrote Battlefield Earth. Did
Yeah.
you know?
oh, yeah, he wrote a lot of sort of second-rate science fiction.
Yeah.
LaVey, before officially founding like his Church of Satanism, had like an in-between thing where he had a group, and the group just had what I think is a hysterical name. I don't know if anyone would know it off the top of your head.
Like the Dirty
what
Dozen
was
or
his group
something?
that predated like that
Satan
predated
Six or something.
his Satanist religion. The Order of the Trapezoid.
Wow.
Why?
Now I've heard of that too, but
Yeah.
you are really getting obscure stuff, I'll tell you.
Sometimes, why don't my students listening at home expect me to
Yes,
go into these
yes.
things? in
I
some
didn't know
degree.
that a trapezoid was a particularly satanic shape.
Yeah, a geometrical, devil sign.
If any of you or anyone listening is curious,
You know,
if
it's weird.
can-
Every time my mom wakes up in the morning, there's a trapezoid above her head.
Ooh. This is not
she's a
bode well.
trapezoidian angel.
I wonder if that means something.
Now,
Either that or she's a Sims character.
I do want to go back to your earlier answer just about like historical devil worship, like in Middle
Right.
Ages or earlier than
Yeah.
that. And
Probably goes back to Christ. I mean,
well, in the Old Testament, I'll say this: there can be translation and interpretation, but if I can make a blanket statement, there's very little, if no, reference to Satan in the Old Testament.
okay.
Right.
There have been some modern editions of the Old Testament that write him in. Like in the Garden of Eden, it's the serpent. It's not
Right.
Satan.
Right.
But-
Right.
So that's just an example. You get into the New Testament, post the Gospel, like Revelations especially, that's where you start to hear the Antichrist talk, and that comes
Well, I mean, he goes
after
down
the life of the
to
historic
Jesus
Christ.
goes to hell for 3 days
Right.
while his body's in the cave
Right.
and sort of deals with the devil, deals with Satan.
I wonder if they made any trades.
Oh my gosh!
Like, listen, in the future, you can have Ray Charles.
Oh Lord!
That was like Marilyn Manson for Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah.
But you gotta give my people a break.
Oh my gosh!
It's okay. Ray Charles will not be listening to this.
They
They don't allow podcasts in hell.
medieval witch hunts were often the accused were accused of consorting
Yes.
with Satan.
Witchcraft, yes.
It's historians who study that period say there's very little evidence that there were any Satanists or devil worshippers amongst these persecuted
Just
peoples.
overzealous.
Yeah, it was the overzealous witch hunters
Yes.
that were the bigger problem.
The medieval days when everybody had a bad night. Knite.
I hate to say like a complete generalization, but when people under such torture would eventually sort of admit to devil
Yeah.
worship, there was one name that, let's just say, often came up.
Oh,
John Proctor.
Not John Proctor.
it was a woman, wasn't it?
It was not a woman.
Wasn't it? Oh, okay.
I
thinking
mean,
something else.
again, I'm making a
Yeah.
kind of a sweeping generalization here, so
Yeah.
I'm not saying there were no other names or evil figures
Like
that
a
came up.
Witchfinder General or something, which was a Peter Cushing movie. But number 3.
But people would admit to worshiping
A specific.
this specific
This deity.
Yeah.
version of
Is it Hades?
evilness. It's not Hades, but that guesses in the right direction because it's another sort of synonym for the devil.
Oh, Mephisto or Mr. Scratch or
Something like that.
okay.
Baphomet.
Oh wow, that's one I have not heard.
Me neither.
Baphomet. Well, the funny...
It's weird. My mom named my dog Baphomet.
Well, she may be a secret Muslim because Baphomet is actually a corruption of the name Muhammad.
Oh, okay.
What?
An anagram for Muhammad or
So,
something?
well, I think people speaking different languages and getting confused and poor peasants. And so
I have
these
a really
tortured
weird
peasants-
feeling, and this is coming from a Christian,
Yes.
that the Christians who are like, who made the image of the devil based off of the pagan gods, like, oh yeah, he just happened to look like your gods. That's what they did with this case with Muhammad. They're like, oh, well, it just so happens to be Muhammad too.
Yeah. It's like Mario and Wario.
Wasn't there?
Yeah.
Now this is an honest question.
I'll give you an honest answer.
Wasn't there another sort of devilish character or name like Ashrak or something like
Yes.
that?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of
If I don't know if I
synonyms,
pronounced
and
it
then if you get
correctly.
into like Catholic mythology,
Yeah,
they
but
have
they
like
get
ranks
more.
of
Yeah, they get
devils and
more
angels, or
more
demons and angels.
obscure. Yeah. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was on the right track.
But it is interesting that those poor peasants were basically not admitting to witchcraft; they were admitting to be Muslims. That
Oh,
is, in effect.
wow.
I mean, no one was saying, "Oh, stop torturing me, I'm a Muslim," but the
yeah.
word they were using is a
Was
corruption
another-
of the word Muhammad. So there's this.
that is odd trivia.
Sometimes people have suggested that I'm sometimes too harsh on my students,
Uh-oh.
rely too much on criticism. So
Corporal punishment.
occasionally, the Gold Star Classroom does not approve or conduct striking the students in any way. So in order to remedy that
That's not what he
criticism,
said last time.
I have here in my hand 101 random ways to praise a student, and I just want to tell you guys, phenomenal.
Oh, phenomenal! Wow.
Phenomenal. You thought John Hoffner was on this show.
Star pupil John Hoffner. Undoubtedly our number one student at home. Thank you for listening, John. I recently came
He
across
does like that homeschooling.
a trivia question that I think that's just a factual statement.
He was homeschooled.
Yes.
Yes.
I came across
And the plates kid in the grocery store.
a trivia question that I think has a little bit of a generation gap to it, but it got me thinking about some related questions as well. But I want to tell you the question that just got me thinking about it. And let's give the young guys a chance to see if they know.
Well, I'll
for a
sit back
second.
and relax.
Orson/Chris.
Yes.
What was the name of Flash Gordon's #1 nemesis?
Oh, please.
I
I'm
never
raising
watched
my
I don't know
hand.
anything
Okay,
about
go ahead,
Flash
Chris.
Gordon.
Ming the Merciless.
10 points for
Yes.
Chris.
Mr. Nerd.
You know, Flash Gordon was a old comic strip, not a comic book like Superman or Batman, although later there would be comic
Yes.
books.
Created by Alex Raymond, or drawn by Alex Raymond.
Yes, originally drawn by Alex Raymond,
Played by Buster Crabbe on
and
the
that
serials.
turned into 3 serials starring
Yes.
Buster Crabbe.
Who's also odd because he played Buck Rogers, another science
That's
fiction
right.
character.
There's-
So
Well, did you know Mark Hamill was the Joker and Luke
Yeah,
Skywalker?
That's true. That's true. He's got 2 tie-ins to,
Way to sway things back towards our generation, Dan.
while the old man just ages.
Well, that got me thinking about other science fiction trivia. So this is a few trivia questions related to the genre of science fiction. Here's something that, of course, you might know or you might not know, but it's a sort of a nice historical point. There was a particular science fiction novel that was the first novel to ever be listed on the New York Times bestsellers list.
Was it The Watchmen?
It was not The Watchmen. The Watchmen is famous for being the only graphic novel on the New York Times list of 100 greatest works of literature.
Okay.
I think of the 20th century.
Can you repeat the question?
First
Sure.
science
First science
fiction
fiction
novel.
book on the New York Times bestsellers list. I'll tell you the year is 1961.
Martian Chronicles, or
We have a vote for Martian Chronicles.
The Da Vinci Code,
We have a vote for the Da Vinci Code.
which
by Dan
came out in
Brown.
2005.
Namesake. Dan Brown.
61. I don't know. Well, Aliens counts as.
What about 1985?
The year?
No, like 1985, the book.
you mean
1984.
1984?
1984, the book.
That wasn't.
Minus
Well,
1,985 points for
Which was
Dan
put out,
Brown.
which was put out in
I'm gonna have to take this
1948,
class again
and that's
next
why
semester.
he flipped the numbers
Yes,
to make it
48
futuristic.
Points, 48 points for Chris Lambert and a third nerd prize. The book is famous for introducing into the English language the slang word grok. Have you ever heard anyone say I grok something or I grok you or
Oh boy.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I rocked my world, but I
well,
can't.
grok with a G?
Rock.
Grok with a G
Oh,
R O
I'm
K.
sorry.
It's something you say when you like feel somebody's pain or have deep empathy with their situation. I
that
grok
sounds-
you.
That sounds like something that Ken Kesey would say.
Written by Robert Heinlein.
Oh, Stranger in Strange Land?
Correct.
Yes.
Stranger in a Strange Land.
Okay.
10 points for Chris Lambert.
I was on a
I'm
website
getting-
called that one time.
Getting out of that hole.
Well, that's where it comes from. Now, Stranger in a Strange Land was the first science fiction book to be ranked on the New York Times bestseller list. It had all kinds of huge social impacts when it came out. It deals a lot with alternative religions, free love, communal living, as in communes.
Maybe it was written by Kesey.
And technically, and this I think
Right.
you can sort of
Sure.
correct me on this.
If I know, I will.
Didn't also H.G. Wells's when the sleeper wakes, because this guy fell asleep
Right.
and when he woke up, different many social things
Well-
had changed, and it was sort of a commentary.
Well, in
on
almost all of H.G. Wells' novels, you'll find
That's true.
his
That's
sort
true.
of socialist
the
concerns.
food of the gods and
Well, the Time Machine.
Time
They've
Machine,
split
yeah.
into 2 social classes, one that
Yeah.
literally
Underground,
feeds
yeah.
on the other.
right.
The book Stranger on a Strange Land, though famous and even influential, but also at some turns found itself being on banned book lists, not only because of its messages of free love or abandoning religion,
Wow.
but there's a very specific reason why it was taken off library shelves.
Boy.
It was later cited as an influence on a famous sociopath.
Was it Charles Manson?
TM got there first.
Yeah, he
10
was.
points for TM.
Who wanted to join the Beach Boys? Was it?
At
or-
one
He,
point,
Yeah.
well,
he
you know
was
what he did?
friends.
He like held up. He just showed up at a party at I think
Right.
it was at Brian Wilson's
Yeah,
house,
yeah.
and then he like didn't leave. But Brian
Yeah.
Wilson was kind of scared
Yeah.
to make him leave,
Right.
which
and
you know.
I think wasn't there in the lore that the fact that when Manson sent his people out to kill
Folgers and
Sharon Tate,
and Sharon,
that it was actually one of the guys from the band that lived across the street, and he just got the address wrong. Or
No, it was supposed to be. They didn't. It was. I think Sharon Tate lived in a house that the guy that he originally wanted to kill, he either wasn't there, or Sharon Tate or Tate and
wrong place,
Polanski
wrong
were like
time.
renting it from him
Yeah,
or
that's
something
right,
like that.
subletting it,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, that's cool.
All right. This brought to my mind, what is the best-selling science fiction book of all times? And I will say, as befits nerd culture, when you look at different lists, you sometimes get different answers because people debate like what the criteria should be.
Yeah, I guess.
So I have like three or four.
1983.
I would guess.
1984 has sold over 28 million copies, by the way. And so it is
I was
sometimes
going to
listed
guess
as one
that
of the
because
best-selling.
they teach it in school, and I figured there was a lot of college and high school forced buyings, by teachers.
Besides 1984, I said I have 5 or 6 books on this list. There are 2 books that are commonly taught in schools, which I wonder. So that is one of them, though. 1984.
Yeah, go
Can I
ahead.
rattle off a few that I'm,
Well,
Martian Chronicles,
do a couple.
or Dandelion Wine?
Not in this level.
Oh, okay.
Tens of millions.
Okay.
Mine's not. It's not taught in school, but I was gonna guess Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
The
was-
Hitchhiker's Guide to the
yeah.
Galaxy, 10 points for you, is sometimes listed as a humor science fiction, like the best-selling humor science fiction.
Yeah.
Well, over 14 million copies sold.
Have a Nice Day by Mick Foley.
No, mine is 10 points. Also, with the Hitchhiker's
good
Guide to
book,
the
though.
Galaxy,
Very good book.
because there's 5 books altogether,
The restaurant at the end of the
the
universe,
universe
or
and
something,
so forth. You also can get like a figure for all 5 of them collectively, and although my 14 million figure is, I believe, just for the initial book,
Is it Harry Potter?
it's
Oh,
funny
wow.
you would say
Oh,
Harry
yeah.
Potter, and it's not.
Because it's
but-
technically fantasy, or
But
what?
I do have the best-selling fantasy novel on this list, which
Oh,
is
okay.
sometimes included on lists like this. I mean, I believe J.K. Rowling is the best-selling author in the world right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's almost
Regardless
certainly
of the genre,
true. Yes.
or her
But-
name,
but they-
whatever she's.
So I
calling
don't. But I don't
herself
have the figure. I have the figure for the other fantasy book, which I believe is the best-selling fantasy book.
50 Shades of Grey.
With the fantasy, I'm sort of
Go ahead.
switching over to maybe something like the Terry Brooks Swords of Shannara. Is that up
No,
there?
that's
Okay.
not up there.
Okay.
Both
He's
Harry
milked
Potter and
that
the book
fran-
I have.
He
are
has
like-
milked that franchise to
Well,
a
the
standstill.
Terry Pratchett Discworld franchise
yeah.
itself must collectively have sold a huge number of books.
Oh, okay. Something like Niven and Cornell, something by them?
Not
or-
that level.
Okay.
They-
Does the Bible count as science fiction?
Oh, my goodness gracious. I'm crossing myself right now.
Not on that list. For students listening at home, Chris did literally just cross himself, by the way.
Yes.
And Dan did not.
Although, here, let's cross. Can I cross the 2 comments at once with one trivia
Try.
thing?
That was
the
very
day-
satanic hand gesture you
Well,
just
that's
made.
true. The day the Earth stood
He did.
still.
He did a sign of a trapezoid.
The end of the day the Earth stood still was reshot because the critics were mad because here's a guy who comes from the stars, who offers us peace and a way to solve everything. We kill him. He rises from the dead, and his name is Carpenter.
Yeah.
And they had to put in the line where they say, you're alive again? He said, no, I'm only going to live for a little bit longer. This is a temporary comeback. Said they made him put in the line that only the Almighty has that type of power,
Right.
or some kind of that he is not God. But there were so many God references that they had to put that into.
So in
Funny,
other
they
words,
didn't
yes,
have
the
that
Bible
kind of-
is science fiction. That is the moral of that story.
Was there any kind of debate over like Evan Almighty
No.
or Bruce Almighty?
Going
I
with,
doubt it.
Going with fantasy, Lord of the
Yes.
Rings is the best-selling,
Oh
with
yeah.
over 125 million copies sold.
Wait, that's not a true story?
It's the true history of Middle-earth.
That's what I thought.
Oh,
I thought those were documentaries.
it's-
The actual...
I was like, why is Rudy so
sort of
short?
hard-
So New Zealand's not a real place?
The actual... Yeah, the population of New Zealand goes like this. There's 50 sheep for every possum, 50 possum for every humans, and 50 humans for every orc. That's the ratio of creatures living there.
It's got to be a lot of sheep.
The best
So I know
selling,
at least 4 York.
the The best-selling hard science fiction, standalone, not part of a series or trilogy novel is Dune by Frank Herbert.
Oh, okay.
Over 12 million copies sold.
Call me Maudib.
And I'll just throw out there the other school book that is very well, you said the Dandelion. Which one did you say?
Dandelion Wine or Martian
is
Chronicles?
Fahrenheit 451.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Also over 10 million copies
Yeah.
sold.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then I do have the figure for the Asimov Foundation trilogy, which as a trilogy,
The Foundation, yeah.
the Foundation, it's a 3-book series, has over 20 million copies
Okay.
sold. I do have 2 more sci-fi trivia questions. These can be a little more concise.
Okay.
The odds makers are saying Chris knows the answer to this next one.
Oh, no, please.
We'll give Dan
The
and
pressure, the
TM a
pressure.
chance. What film is usually considered the first science fiction movie?
What film was the first science fiction movie?
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz.
We have a vote for Wizard of Oz.
That's a good. Well, yeah. That's
Take
a
that
good
back.
guess.
King Kong.
That is older. The movie
Yeah.
we're talking about is a silent film. So it's
Okay, I've
Is
already
it
got
the
this.
Is it Nosferatu?
Boy,
Well,
that's
that's not.
That's
science
a great
fiction, right?
1922
That's a
Max
adaptation of
Shrek.
Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess that's
Chris
probably
Lambert.
what
Okay,
we're looking for.
Fritz Lang's Metropolis, I'm going to guess.
Good, great film, by the way. So
Yeah.
everyone immediately stop listening to this podcast and go watch the
Go
movie
watch, yeah.
Metropolis.
You got to pay $8.99 for
But no,
Netflix though.
there's a movie from 1902.
Is it called R-U-R?
It's so funny you would say it. But I'll tell you why in a second.
Oh, okay.
The
All right.
first science fiction movie is
Oh,
1902.
the
Trip to the Moon.
Yeah.
Trip to the Moon.
Yeah, okay.
I'll give you 0 points for almost knowing the answer.
Yeah. with the little rocket in the
Yes.
moon's eye, and he's
Yes.
blinking like, oh, why did you shoot that in my eye?
You know what? European filmmaking, especially French filmmaking during like 1900 turn of the century era, had
Lumiere
a lot
and all
more
those guys.
special effects in it. Like
Yeah.
American movies were like stand in front of scenery, talk,
Yeah.
and kiss
Yeah.
stories.
Uh-huh.
Whereas the French, where they had magicians involved and a lot more technical tricks. So,
That's the French adding their magicians to everything.
Oh, my gosh.
just to TM.
No, oh no, I was just perplexed as I often am by what Dan just said. But
And finally, this is the last science fiction question. What is the origin, so the first work of literature to have the word robot in it?
Okay.
The
That
word
was
robot?
my other...
Correct.
The Ruhr, which is like robotic or
Yes, that's
working slave.
Chris
I think
just said it's R-U-R. That's actually the title of a play, just the letters R-U-R, which is like a short for... It's a Czechoslovakian language play, but in English that's usually called Rossum's Universal Robots.
Yes.
And that was the first appearance of the word robot in written language.
wow,
I got through that one.
Premiered in 1921, I believe. And it introduced the word robot to the English language. All right. Well, now it remains for me to tally your scores
Uh-oh.
and find today's winner. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to give you each a chance for extra credit.
Oh, all right. This is
And
fun.
extra credit will take the form of I'm about to give you a topic, and then you tell me something you know about that topic.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
This is fun.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Knowing the predilection of the team, I'm going to throw you a softball. So I expect some good trivia or jokes, one or the other.
I'm not a comedian, so I'll just give you trivia.
Comic books.
Yes.
Oh,
That's the topic. Tell
So-
me some interesting fact or
Is this-
trivia or joke.
him and then...
Well, everyone gets a turn, but you're
Oh,
welcome to go
okay.
first if you're ready.
No.
Does it have to be it's just comic book related?
Yeah, this is like comic books in the broadest possible sense. You can go to film, you can go to
Okay.
art, you can go to history, you can
Well,
go to something you've read recently.
I hear there's going to be new ones coming out on Wednesday.
5 points for Dan Brown.
All right. According to the research I've done, that comic books and jazz, and possibly now hip-hop,
Okay.
more closer, are the only true American art forms. Everything else has been created somewhere else except for jazz and comic books. That's just a little trivia thing thrown out there.
I'll have to fact check that, but I have a feeling that some people would add to the list
Well,
rock
and
music
that's why I said, there's
and
later things.
actually modern stand-up comedy is
Right, but I
considered
mean,
a
back
20th
in the
century.
days when comics were created at that time,
Yes.
those were the only two things that
Yes.
were,
Sure.
But I mean, I got more.
So you mean like the earliest original
Yeah.
American
Yeah.
creations? Okay, that could well be.
Bob
Very
Kane
interesting.
created Batman. He was
Did.
the first to draw Batman, but everyone who has drawn Batman since him has done a better job. So technically,
Yeah.
Bob Kane is the worst person who's ever drawn Batman.
There was a joke once where it said Bob Kane. They had an announcement at a convention. It said, Sheldon Moldoff and let's say Jerry Robinson and Lou Schwartz will be in the conference room signing Bob Kane's autograph, because that was his three ghosts that he never pretend. Oh, I draw everything myself. You know.
Two things that we were talking about that I would just want to tie in. We were talking about when it being controversial to be compared to Christ or something like that, which was a thing that Superman has had a lot in the film and in the comic book, just because comes from far away. You know, the only son sacrificed for the good of humanity.
Almost like Moses in the rushes.
And if you remember, I was like 8 when the Doomsday storyline came out in the comic books, and I was very upset. I still remember that one with his cape like tattered on the stick or whatever, sticking out of the rubble. And then, of course, he somehow managed to rise from the dead in the forthcoming thing. So there's always been a lot of comparisons with the Jesus and Superman as far as the mythology behind it.
And how many times have they shown him floating in space with his arms out while he's like knocked out or something?
They just did that Man of Steel too.
Yeah, like in the Christ pose.
He jumps out of the aircraft and he's just like, hey, everybody.
Yeah, I also lived through the Death of Superman saga, and I have the anthology version. It's quite. It was spread out over like a year over multi-issue platforms, but then they released anthology versions. That's also not the first time Superman was killed. Right? He's been killed at least twice before.
In the imaginary form, Superman 149 from the early 60s, The Death of Superman. Boy, I was crying when I read that, you know.
We may have a new record, 4 nerd prizes in one 30-minute episode.
Hey, Chris, you got to keep this up. If you get one more nerd prize, that's a guaranteed scholarship to Platinum Classroom.
Okay, let's see if I can win it right here. Dan made a really good point. I didn't think somebody from his age bracket and younger guy would know all this stuff. The Bob Kane thing, creating it and stuff. But there's a lot of people who are up in arms trying to get Bill Finger equal credit. Because Bob really kept Bill under his thumb and didn't let DC know about him for years. And
I was in a trivia. I was at a trivia party yesterday for my sister, and the very first question I knew immediately. And I was one of the only people in the room that got it. There were a couple of people quite a bit older than me.
Right.
They said George Reeve played this character.
Oh, yeah.
On television of the what superhero? Okay, it was something along that lines. I heard George Reeve, and the first thing I did was write Superman. Because I loved the old TV.
Oh yeah,
Superman.
and he'd wink at the audience at the end of every. Yeah, I know, Lois.
Well, and then for a bonus point, I wrote he killed himself.
Allegedly.
Yeah. How many times do you have to practice suicide into the floor before you?
Have you ever seen Hollywoodland?
Hollywoodland, very good.
It's a really good movie. Yeah. Ben Affleck plays him. He wears a Superman costume in that movie.
Ben Affleck plays.
Really? George Reeves playing Superman.
Right.
It's a great...
So Ben Affleck will now be Superman.
Yeah. He was in a Superman costume on film.
It's a great neo-noir or post-noir film.
I really like that movie, yeah.
All right. Before this digresses
I'm
further into schoolyard behavior, Tim, was that the parallels between Superman and Jesus?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, and just having finished tallying all your scores, it just remains for me, your host and humble professor, Dr. Jerry Jaffe, to award today's coveted classroom prize, the Golden Banana, to Chris Orson Welles Lambert.
Yay! I thought it was going to bomb out today because I thought you'd just get me.
Also a record for nerd prizes.
Yes.
That's an impressive
I
performance.
wear it proudly, like a crow on my shoulder.
So it just remains for me to say thank you, TM.
I love being here, Jerry. Thank you for continuing to educate me.
Yes.
Thank you, Dan Brown.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you, Chris Lambert.
Thank you. We had a lot of fun as my first official trip here at school.
Gold Star Classroom is written and produced by Jerry Jaffe. Our producer and engineer is Stephen Gutierrez. Original music composed and produced by Jeff Geddert. Mr. Geddert is also our assistant producer. All commentary and opinions expressed by guests of Gold Star Classroom are meant for entertainment purposes only. For Gold Star Classroom, I'm Jerry Jaffe.